Hello, everyone, and welcome to D1011 Suburban Review, where we talk to suburbanists, economists, and regular people just like you who are making a difference. Today, we have New Jersey customer service advocate Franck Beaumin. I'm so sorry. I'm doing the Anglo pronunciation, even though my family is from New Orleans and I feel bad about it.
Good. It's good. It sounds perfect.
Okay, thank you. So just getting right into it, you jumped into the role, and I know as an Angelino, I know sometimes New Jersey is a little challenging, but you're always happy and smiling, and you're very like, you become one of the, most favorite people in public transit in New Jersey or the New York metro area. So how did you get involved in this? Are you a train nerd or is it something else?
Well, first, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It was very much appreciated. Yeah, I was born and raised in France, western part of the country, and I lived for a long time in a village, 3,000 inhabitants roughly, right, where there was no public transit service. And let me tell you, when you're a teenager and you have friends and you live in the countryside, it is no way to see them on weekends and during the vacations. I always felt like there was something missing, and not that I was bored because there was always something to do, but I think my life would have been better, or at least different in a positive way, with public transit. So when I graduated from high school, I moved right away in a major city. And my first job, was in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, was one of the largest city in the world. And I started my career, in France, in Paris, working for a major operator of public transit systems, urban public system, I should say, across the world. And that's where I could, I really enjoy living in a major city with a very good public transit, subway, commuter rail, bus, and see all the benefits of such a density of service. How can it makes people's lives much better, right? And that's how I wanted to make a difference for the people we serve. I wanted to make the experience better everywhere I could, right? And that's why I asked my employer back then in Paris, if they could send me in different countries because I wanted to travel. Never had the chance to do it when I was younger, and they sent me in different places. But one of my best experience was in Boston. It was my first experience in the United States, and that's where I discovered the American Railroad, the famous American Railroad, and working for the commuter rail, part of the MBTA network. And I really enjoy living in the U.S. and working with American teams. So, when I chose to change, job, I still wanted to remain in the United States, and work on a system, where I knew I could be of help, and so New Jersey, I was not very familiar with the state of New Jersey. I was familiar with a bit of Hudson County for having visited the place a couple of times. But you know what? I was like, new state, new adventure. I was all up for it. So that's why I came here. And I don't regret it. This is a wonderful state, from North Jersey to South Jersey. So many communities to discover, so many great places, cities, villages, and lots of people to work with that were fantastic.
That was a very extensive answer. I feel like I know you really well now. Well, for people who might not know, like, what does a customer service advocate do in day-to-day New Jersey transit riders? Because we didn't have that before, I don't think. I think this is a new role. So what is it that you do?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's technically I had a predecessor, but it was a little different. The approach was different for sure, because my predecessor was reporting to a member of the operational team within New Jersey Transit. The difference is I do not report to them, and they don't report to me, but I report to the board of directors of NJ Transit, which put me in a very unique position to carry the voice of our customers, right? So on a day to day, well, it's not every, there's not one typical day, I will say, because when I wake up in the morning, I try to think about, all right, what do I have to achieve today? I try to think about how can I make the passenger experience better today in any way of shape or form. And so sometimes I go straight to the office, but sometimes I go to a certain location, a bus terminal, a train station, a light rail stop, and try to wander around the network and see what's working, but also what could be improved. Like I said, sometimes just go straight to the office, open my emails because I know I'm going to have a bunch of messages from customers, including on my customer advocate online form, which I strongly encourage customers to use. It's at njtransit.com/. Customer advocate. You can fill up the form, and I read all of the comments I receive. Some of them are more customer service related, and people ask for a refund, they lost an item on the train, stuff like that. That I will send to customer service. But otherwise, any suggestions or concern that look like a pattern that needs to be investigated, I will definitely look into it. Right, and that takes a lot of my time because I don't simply read the comment. I will investigate it. I would if talking about overcrowding somewhere, then I will look at the ridership numbers. I will monitor activity on the line, on the bus route, etc. I will write it myself if it makes sense. If I need more details, I also like to call customers directly. Sometimes on social media, I get comments from customers that are very relevant, but on social media, you don't always get all the details you need to actually take action on an issue. So I like to suggest customers, we talk on Teams, on the phone. Sometimes we meet in person to chat about this situation, right? And what I do this, I also meet with the operational team members because, like I said, I have no authority over NJ Transit. I report to the board, but I see my role as a diplomatic way to work with the operational team members and to find solutions together. They have all the keys to make the changes, right? So if I work with them, I suggest changes and I see sometimes why we cannot make those changes because it's an operational challenge, because it's a budget issue, anything, then we can work together to overpass that problem. But basically, that's what I do. And and of course, I try to meet with customers at a many customer engagement event. This morning, for example, I was at Irvington Bus Terminal to meet with customers there. And that for a couple of hours, we exchange with them. We take customer feedback, and I brought with me some of the operational team members, both bus operation and bus planning, so they can chat with them directly. Because a lot of customers are like, all right, we always complain. It's always the same person responding. And they're right. They don't always want to hear from customer service. So when we have the operational team members with us, yeah, it makes a big difference as well. So that's what takes a big portion of my day is interacting with customers and find opportunities for improvement.
I think that's actually pretty amazing because for people who do not know, who are outside the New Jersey area, or even people in New Jersey is the most dense and urban state in the United States, which most people don't realize because we're so close to Manhattan. So it's kind of like you can't really see it. So the amount of people that you are responding to, and also how responsive you have been, and I observed you, it's kind of actually amazing. I don't know how you're one person. Like, is there a team? Is there somebody behind you? Because that's kind of weird. Because usually, and this is no, you know, this is no, it is what it is. We're in a big city. For a person to actually respond to customers and to do it in such a way, in such a polite, respectful manner is, because we're all in a hurry. So we do, that is something that I'm always surprised about with you. But also, I want to know for your board, like, what are some like rider concerns that they're like, I didn't even know that was a problem, because I did appreciate the fact that you're talking about buses, because so many times with transit, heavy rail, those are the premium customers, then light rail, and then the bus people are like, we don't care. So thank you for going to Irvington bus, but what are some concerns that people have that, board members maybe who don't take, the bus or the light rail as much, or would be surprised about, or you think people might be surprised about?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, you're right. What we have, so NJ Transit is the third largest transit authority in the country. It is also the largest statewide authority in the country. Like most of the time, If you look at a state, you will see different entity depending of the urban area. NJ Transit covers the entire state, so it is almost the entire state, and it's significant, including because it also connects with other states, Pennsylvania and New York. So it is significant. And to do that job from a customer advocate perspective, I'm a one-person team. Like I said, I do work with the operational team to find solutions. I cannot do everything by myself, obviously, and I do have um, another NJ Transit employee who helped me part time to work on some topics. But basically, yeah, it's just me. It is a lot of territory to cover, and and I know that some people think, like you described, that you know they feel like it's all about the rail riders and then it's about light rail, etc. I don't see it this way at all. And I don't think anybody within the executive team at J Transit and of course the board of directors think this way. Not at all. And as a matter of fact, we have bus riders as members of the board. Board member Nara, for example, is a bus rider. So no, they do care deeply about our bus riders, and we know, the majority of our riders are actually bus riders, and the expectations can be different, even depending on where you live and what type of service you're using. If you're using a commuter bus to connect with Port Authority in New York, as opposed to more regional services within New Jersey, so it is a very complex bus network, and that's why the answer from NJ Transit is difficult to articulate and to explain. But let me tell you, the bus teams are fantastic. We have a lot of very passionate professionals within bus planning, bus operation, bus maintenance that do a great job. I'll tell you, the most common concerns we get, since you were mentioning them, is about obviously service. They want more service, and it's very challenging because we get this request from everywhere within the state. We want more service in South Jersey because they do think, and this most of the time they're right. And 1 hour a service every hour is not sufficient. As opposed to South North Jersey, Bergen, Hudson counties, where they have more frequent service, but sometimes it's not even enough to keep up with the ridership and create some overcrowding condition. So given that NJ Transit has a very limited size fleet, it's about how do we share these resources, right? So obviously it's about managing the fleet. It's about finding the appropriate number of bus operators. Bus operator is a tough job. Not everybody wants to do it. And NJ Transit is pretty much constantly recruiting for these jobs, right? And once you have these resources, it's about making sure they are appropriately allocated to the right location, to the right services, and that's not easy. So service frequency is a big one. Service, so bus cleanliness is a big one too. And as a matter of fact, it was one of the main feedback that came out of the virtual forum that I organized back in April as part of the rapid action plan developed by the executive team, which was a response to Mikey Sherrill's executive order number 16, right? And it was 4 aspects of the experience that the government wanted to improve, and one of them was cleanliness. And I think, the bus maintenance team has done tremendous efforts to improve that cleanliness after a rough winter, where we've seen an uptick in concern, which is pretty natural for that season because people bring salt within the bus, and so it doesn't look very clean necessarily. There was a lot of effort that were put to add cleaning during layovers midday, right? Because most of the time buses are cleaned either late at night or early in the morning before beginning of the new service. But now we're also cleaning midday on many routes, and that's gonna this process is gonna be deployed everywhere it's possible. So we've seen a lot of efforts from that perspective. On top of that, reliability, on-time performance, obviously critical for bus riders. I will say to me that even before I joined NJ Transit, they already made the right decision, and they ordered a lot of new vehicles, right, to replace some of the old buses that need to retire. They definitely need to retire. Since September, for example, between September 2025 and June 2026, we received 160 new 40-foot buses, right? It's
Oh,
not,
wow.
it's significant, right? And in September, late September, early October, we will also start to see new articulated vehicles entering service, right? There's very few bus manufacturers in the United States I mean, at least city buses, right? So
Hmm.
all the transit authorities try to order vehicles from them, which means that their capacity to deliver new vehicles is limited. So that's why it's a very gradual process. But regardless, you will see in October new buses go into service, and they will provide not only better performance because obviously new engine, and they'll be more reliable, but they will also provide better experience on board. You will have Wi-Fi on most of these vehicles. You'll have charging ports. You'll have brand new speakers, obviously, to make announcement for the next stop, and new LED signs to let you know where the bus going to stop next. So that will definitely change uh, this aspect of the experience. And then the last type of concerns we get, it's very common, is about passenger information, specifically when it comes to tracking the vehicle you're waiting for, right?
Hmm.
If you use the app, you may have seen some discrepancies between the schedule, the official timetable that NJ Transit provides, and the countdown on the app for when the bus is coming in. Sometimes you see the countdown and the bus doesn't show, or it is the opposite. The bus showed, but it was not showing on the app. So NJ Transit has knowledge issues with that. I worked with them last year to try to adjust the settings for the solution that we have to track vehicles. This improved the accuracy of the system by a little bit, but it was not good enough. And we are at a reliability ratio for this data of about 70%. Definitely not enough. We have identified a system that should make it better. The target is to reach at least 90%. I can't share too much information now because I know this system is still being tested, and we'll hear more in September. But yes, I think we'll get to a level of reliability of the tracking system that customer will finally appreciate.
I have to say, I wasn't going to ask as many bus questions. I think you gave me more information about the bus, and I feel bad. I feel like I should have had those bus questions ready. But I want to say one thing that's good about New Jersey Transit's bus system. I live right by the 28. And
Mm-hmm.
when I used to go to the airport, I used to take the light rail to the shuttle and now I'm like, oh my gosh, the 28's right here. And it runs 24 hours a day. And it costs me like, I think $2.60,
Yeah.
which is amazing. I'm from Los Angeles, I'm not even used to public transit working. So my standards are very low. So I'm always like, oh, this is fine. That's why I don't like to talk about how I appreciate New Jersey Transit because I feel that my standards are too low. And my friends are like yelling at me like, this is not fine. It's horrible. And I'm like, yes, it is. But I'm like, okay, but it does kind of work. But moving from the buses, but I'm also like, you're gonna have ports and internet. That's gonna be great because especially too, you gotta wait and you want to charge your phone. So this is amazing. Anyway, we're gonna go to the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail. We're only gonna ask one question about that because everybody talks about the Hudson Light Rail. And the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail connects so many different communities. What do you think that riders value most about it? And like, what changes or that have happened that you think that writers have responded to in a way that's like, this is amazing, this is even better, because I really like the Bergen Hudson Light Rail, and I take it sometimes when I'm in Jersey City.
Yeah, no, it's a great system. I use it myself on a weekly basis because I live in Hoboken, so I use the Hudson-Bergen Line on a very regular, very regular way. I will say, I think the big plus of this system is actually the connectivity that it offers. It is serving one of the densest area in the state, Bayonne, Jersey City, connects pretty easily to Union City as well, etc., Weehawken, etc. So there is a lot of values to this ability to go from one point of the county to the other, connecting not only to other services like NJ Transit Rail and buses, but also the path into so many services. Right? You want to go to the mall in Newport, here's your connection. You want to go to Hoboken Terminal, it's pretty easy as well. So all of this creates a lot of value from a community standpoint. Right? Now, what are the improvements that people are appreciating? Well, um, as you may know, I should say, the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail is not operated directly by NJ Transit. We have a contractor operating the system. Actually, as a matter of fact, we have a new contractor since last September. They took over recently. And I think having a new contractor will give us the opportunity to look at, the way we operate and how we can improve not only the schedule. There's a lot of pressure from a lot of people to get more frequency of the system, and I think it is a need, especially during off-peak hours and on weekends. And I support this idea. Um, but I will say there's also a chance to provide better passenger information. Although it is a rather frequent service and it is not disrupted as often as rail service, for example, it's pretty reliable. There's a chance to provide better information. And I know the NJ Transit teams are working with the new contractor to work on that. And one of the change that was implemented, started to be implemented in 2025, was the implementation of the new digital countdowns at a HBLR station. Not all of the stations have been equipped yet, but these signs provide real-time information on when the train is supposed to depart your stop, as opposed to the old signs that were just only showing scheduled information. Now, this system is based, like for the rail system, on track signal. So it is not the most accurate. It's not as accurate as GPS, but it's definitely an improvement compared to the old system.
That is, yeah, it is an improvement compared to the old system. But now we're going to have to go talking about the Newark Light Rail, which is one of the oldest transit systems. I think in the Northeast, just generally. And what and it doesn't get as much love. It's actually not as frequent. People don't travel as much on it. I try to always use it, and I always say it's fun. You could use a train. I can only do so much. What do you think makes like the Newark Light Rail an important part of life, not just in Newark, but just in people trying to connect, a lot of the Essex County trying to connect to go to the city and just generally in daily life. Like, because I know it's a little bit different. It hits a little bit, it hits a little bit different areas than the Bergen Light Rail.
It does. And I think, I mean, personally, I love the New York Light Rail. Uh, I use it about 3 to 4 times a week, depending on how I get to the office. In the morning and at night, I think it's one of the best systems we have. It is by far the most reliable service we have. To give you an example, looking at on-time performance for the last 3 days, right? For August 8th, we were at 99.18% of reliability. On the 9th, we're at almost 100%, and also 99.2% on yesterday, August 10th. It's extremely reliable, and that's why people love it so much. And I understand why people would be like asking for more promotion of the system, because it is not at capacity, although it is busy during rush hour on the Grove Street branch. But in reality, it has a lot of capacity still, especially on the Broad Street branch. But either way, it is a great system. It is using the same rolling stock vehicles, I should say, than Hudson-Bergen Light Rail. They are not new, but in good condition. And the infrastructure overall is in good condition, right? So the opportunities for improvement on the New York Light Rail will probably be more about providing more service off peak hours, because that's one of the weakness of the system, and I think that NJ Train is very aware of it. Um, but I will say, like for the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail, the main challenge when it comes to offer more service is, is find the budget for it. Is to make sure we can
Mm-hmm.
match the resources and the needs. And right now, that's kind of the challenge, because NJ Transit, like for pretty much, I would say almost every transit authority across the country, is facing uh, financial struggles
Mm-hmm.
because of the COVID era created a lot of financial issues from all these transit agencies. They were supported by federal funds for a while, but the support has disappeared pretty much. So it's all about how we're gonna keep providing service with the amount of money we can get out of obviously fair collection, support from the state, etc. So it is a complicated equation. So it's not as simple to say, all right, we need more service. We have people asking for more service. Let's put more service. Obviously, we are aware of the need, and I support it. But it's also about how do we get the funding to provide this additional service. In the meantime, I think that there's also an opportunity to provide better passenger information on the Newark Light Rail. You said it's an old system where we use old signs that provide real time. Sorry, it use scheduled information, and it's not
Hmm.
as problematic as for HBLR, just because, like I mentioned, it's a very reliable system. So what you see on the sign as the scheduled information is very likely to be the actual train departure time. But that said, there are also some disruptions. There are also some service changes, especially on weekends, where we need to maintain the tracks and the catenaries. So there's always some work to do, and so we need to be better in terms of passenger information, even during planned disruptions.
I always tell people I will never drive into Newark again because I work several places. I go to Essex County College. I work at NJIT, and I also work at the New School. And I said I will never ever drive to Newark or to get to the train again. I did that one time. And you're right, because the service is so reliable, I can literally look at the train and I know it's going to come. So I guess the Hudson like route doesn't work that way. But you're right. It does come when it says it's going to come. It actually does come when it says it's going to come. And that's one of the great things about it. But from there, we're going to move to the Newark Penn Station, which is one of the busiest transit hubs in the US. And it's just a really important thing, and it can be like really intimidating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about, and I do notice that sometimes they'll have like the red shirts. Oh, you know what? That's Pat. The red shirts helping people.
Right, so
But
it's
what,
bad, but we have the orange jacket, the orange shirts, if you like, which are the
yes,
equivalent, the customer service ambassadors for NJ Transit. Yeah.
yeah, NJ Transit. So what can we do in regards to, what do you think about Newark Penn? And what are some ideas? 'Cause I know they were going to do certain things with the station, and I'm not quite sure if that's Amtrak's turf or if it's NJIT's or not, New Jersey Transit's turf. Like, what is going to? I know they're going to redo Penn Newark. I don't know if you know anything about that, or is that like under wraps what they're
I
talking
know
about?
there is a project, yes, but I don't have much information about it. I can tell you that like you mentioned, yes, it is an overwhelming station for many people. Just
Hmm.
has pretty much every up station on the Northeast corridor. It's the busiest train corridor in the country. It has a lot of services. And Newark Penn, you add to the Northeast corridor service, obviously, uh, Raritan Valley Line, North Jersey Coast Line, Amtrak service, obviously, but we also have PATH and we have Newark Light Rail. We have regular local buses for NJ Transit again, and you have some other bus services for long distance trips. So it's a lot of services in a relatively small area. So it sometimes can be a struggle to organize this. The station is also, the responsibility for the station is divided between NJ Transit and Amtrak, right? Depending on where you
Hmm.
go and what track you're looking at, etc. So that's why it can be a little complicated, and
Hmm.
what can be a lot of things can be done, right? Like you mentioned, there is a project to modernize the station. Like I said, I don't have much information on it, and I know that big portion of it will be to reorganize the spaces a little bit, because we want to be able to welcome customers in a comfortable way. There's a lot of people going through the station, and there are some seating areas reserved for customers. But I think we could do better from that perspective. It's also about selecting the vendors to make sure that they answer to our customer needs. A lot of passenger information as well, because one of the challenge at Newark Penn is track changes, right?
Hmm.
So the tracks that go through the stations are dispatched by Amtrak, and so our system provide track information based on the decision Amtrak take to dispatch our trains through the system. Sometimes there's some last minute change, and that are to me not properly communicated. And I think about Raritan Valley Line customers that sometimes have to switch tracks at the last minute, not convenient at all. So I think from that perspective, we could do better, right?
Hmm.
But before we get to the big modernization of the station, we can make some improvements here and there. Uh, Newark Penn was the first location where we implemented the new gate boards to have clear information on where the trains are going, if
Hmm.
it's an accessible service, if it provides service to the airport, etc. We It's also one of the first station where Chris Guillory started this new cleaning program where they very much insisted on cleaning multiple areas several times a day, but also helping some of the people who spend a lot of time at the station and need help, right?
Hmm.
And it's also about, to me anyway, from an accessibility perspective, try to replace as soon as possible the elevators and the escalators that are aging very fast. Some of them are out of service on a regular basis, and so need to be serviced as many times, right? So I know there's a lot of efforts from that perspective. I'm thinking about the Newark Light Rail customers who have to go up the escalators to the main concourse that have been off for months before they were recently repaired. These repairs are temporary. These very old escalators need to be replaced. It's very difficult to get spare parts to keep maintaining them, so they need to be replaced. And again, that requires to identify the fundings available for this. I know NJ Transit is working with the FTA and the FRA to find the fundings, but it takes time, right? The procurement process is already a very long process, but getting the funding is complicated. But to me, that one of the priorities: accessibility with new elevators and new escalators.
I always tell people that Main Street is created in DC. People don't really like thinking it that way, but they think like, oh, if we just get together, I'm like, you can't have infrastructure without the federal government. So your hands are tied in that way, and we do talk about that a lot to explain to people. You just can't magically, a state can't just, or even local institutions can't just come up with stuff. They have to get funded through the feds. So I know that you guys are working hard in regards to that. Now we're going to wrap this up because we've actually talked for a while.
I talk
All
too
right.
much. I talk too much. It's
No,
on
no,
me.
it's important. It's good to have this information. So this is, and I don't know if it's a trick question. Not really a trick question, but since you've been so many places, what is your most favorite train in the world?
In the world, yes. So I did had the chance to experience, thanks to my work, some of great services across the world. It's difficult to pick one though. I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. Maybe I'll choose first in terms um, of commuter rail. I'm particularly impressed, and I'll be a little chauvin, like we say in French, a little patriotic. But the RERA in Paris, also some people call it the Red Line, is the busiest commuter rail line in Europe, and I don't think any other line in the United States would compete with it, with that
Mm-hmm.
line. It provides service for 1.2 million passengers every single weekday. It's
Wow.
huge ridership, right? There's no line in the United States that even can come close to it. And I'm not sure if you combine all the commuter rail customers in New York and you get to that amount. So it's a very impressive service. I will also say though that to me there is something missing to commuter rail services in Europe and in other countries for that matter, in other continents for that matter, is something that we have in the United States is crew members, right? If you go to France, if you go to the UK, you're going to commuter rail, you'll see nobody to represent the company to assist you if need be on board a train. There's no conductors anymore, and it's these are modern trains with automatic doors, high level platforms, but when there is a disruption, specifically when you need assistance, having crew members is critical. And not for that, even though I will say I really enjoy riding commuter rail in France, I will say to me, commuter rail in the United States is better from that perspective, right? The Northeast
Mm-hmm.
corridor is great. I personally get on the M&E more often, and I love the M&E not only because the ride through Summit, for example, is absolutely fantastic. You have beautiful views, but also because I like vintage trains. So I know the multi-levels are coming and replace the old trains, but I kind of like them. So that's my point about having um, customer facing employees available for assistance. Although I will say, if you look at long journey trains, I will say Japan has a lot of trains that are very impressive. The Shinkansen that connects Tokyo with Irosaki in Japan is extremely impressive. And I will say they have what they call the 7 minutes miracle, where between two trips, when a train needs to turn around basically for service, uh, northbound in Tokyo, they have an army of train cleaners getting on the train, cleaning the trains in less than 7 minutes, and all the seats turns around to be facing the destination, and that is extremely impressive. I will give this to the Japanese. Their trains are very, very well maintained. So that's that.
Well, wow, we have gone around the world from New Jersey. I always tell people New Jersey is the center of the world, and we really are in this conversation right now. And is there anything else that you would like to tell New Jersey transit customers or passengers?
Yes, I will say, first of all, I'm always happy to hear from them. I am not afraid of tough discussions. That's what I'm here for. I live for complaints. I have no problem with that. So if they should feel free to reach out to me. The best way to do it, well, there's different ways to do it. You can use social media, etc. Right? I'm on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Facebook. But I strongly suggest they share their comments via the online form again, njtransit.com/customer advocate. It's a very simple form, and like I said, I read all of them. So I certainly encourage them to do that. But also, I want to tell them that even though they feel like service has been rough in the past few months, that improvements are coming. It's always frustrating because improvements like the one NJ Transit is working on, heavy improvement. I mean, infrastructure, new trains, new buses, takes time. It's a very gradual improvement, but it is coming.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Frank, for being, candid and talking to us today. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you on the train.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you recognize me on the train, I'm also happy. Like I said, I take the bus, the train, the light rail. If you see me out there, come talk to me.
All right. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, though.